Good to all industry colleagues and members of our council. I am Arup, and on behalf of the entire TERI team, I welcome you all to today's webinar on circular economy and opportunity for Indian businesses. Time to speak today to all of you and connect to all of you on the eve of the 70 on the eve of Independence Day. As many of you would be aware, is a group of Indian businesses and business leaders working on a shared commitment to mainstream sustainability in business strategies and practices. We at TERI have set up this council to recognize and promote sustainability leadership practices. The TERI Council for Business Sustainability serves as the interface for our research work to be connected to the corporate world. April, we are delighted to host a series of thought leadership webinars that will discuss and deliberate emerging trends on sustainability which Indian companies and businesses should be cognizant about. Shall last for 60 minutes. The webinar is an interactive session, and all of you would have an opportunity to pose questions and queries to the speakers during the course of the webinar. You can type your questions in the dialog box available on the right-hand side bottom corner of your screen. The speakers will take up each of your questions by turn at the end of their presentations. In case you are unable to hear us or view the display, please contact my colleagues. The mobile numbers are available on the screen. Today's webinar. The concept of circular economy has gained an increasing priority on the corporate strategic considerations. It aims to recognize value of the generated waste by bringing them again in the system, maintaining products for longer and using from one product to maintain another. It reduces the risk of supply and price changes, lowering the cost of products, and can create jobs in areas like reverse logistics while maintaining the resource balance. Our webinar today will enable participants to implement the circular economy principles and design in their business processes. The circular economy opportunities for India in the space of cities and construction, food and agriculture, mobility and vehicle manufacturing, while learning the business benefits of implementing circular economy for India. We'll also look at the experiences and the learnings from the Mahindra Group. Argued that sustainability discussions are devoid from how the line of businesses are impacted and or benefited. This should not be the case today. I'm happy to share that 3 colleagues are joining the discussions today, namely from Mahindra Waste to Energy, from the Igatpuri plant of Mahindra & Mahindra, and from Mahindra Axle. To enable people actually talk about sustainability and are implementing sustainability. I introduce our first speaker today, Mr. Rene van Berkel. He is UNIDO representative and heads the regional office of United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO in India. Directly responsible for India, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, and Sri Lanka. He works to foster inclusive and sustainable industrialization in its member countries. Rene has over 28 years of professional experience in resource efficiency and cleaner production, industrial productivity, sustainability, and green industry and green economy, with extensive international experience in Europe, Australia, and Asia, covering a variety of manufacturing and related sectors. Recently, Rene was amongst us at TERI when we had recorded a video message of his. While he is joining us live today in the later part of the webinar, we'll hear his perspectives. In his message, Rene argues about the conflict between the economic growth and resource consumption and how it is actually getting attention from different sets of stakeholders. We shall hear Mr. Rene van Berkel's video message now.
Thank you very much. I'm René van Berkel. I represent the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, or UNIDO, here in India. UNIDO is the specialized UN agency that is responsible for supporting developing countries with industrial development for globalization of trade, poverty eradication, and environmental sustainability. So we work on issues of industrialization, and as we know, industrialization in the past has always been seen as an engine of growth, as an engine of development, because factories produce goods and services for initially international markets that creates jobs, that realizes incomes. These incomes are used to increase consumption and take people out of poverty. This is a story of lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty in China, in India, and elsewhere in the world. However, this industrialization engine is contingent on structural transformation, so that businesses are able to improve and increase the value addition over time, so they get into new markets, new quality products, new industrial sectors. And we see now that this industrialization in the 21st century is increasingly challenged. One of the challenges is that this transformational change or structural change is not automatically happening. It's not so easy for companies to improve and move into higher value added sectors. We see that increasingly enterprises are trapped in producing more at ever lower margins and not able to tap into higher value added markets. Second challenge is that, of course, we are running out of planet Earth. Current resource consumption is, if we measure by the common indicator of global footprints, we consume about 1.6 planet Earth every year, and this is set to increase to about 2 planet Earth in a conservative business as usual scenario. So we have not enough planetary space to just continue business as usual. A third challenge is that industry is the changing nature of work in industry. So we see that industries are becoming less labor intensive. It is not so obvious anymore that industry can absorb millions of people into the job market. And certainly we talk about the geographic dividends. About 1/6 of the global population is in the age bracket of 15 to 25, also here in India, and they are looking for jobs. And we see that this is even increasing further with the advent of new technologies. We talk about new business models, Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, which all have the challenge of reversing the job generation potential of the business sector. So at the international level, UNIDO is then talking about the industrialization of the future. So we call that an inclusive and sustainable industrial development, and that's aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, Sustainable Development Goal 9 on industry, innovation and infrastructure, but also on 12 on sustainable consumption and production, and several of the other SDGs. So this inclusive and sustainable industrial development is actually quite an abstract term. I often then say that this is basically about factories for the future that are fit for the future that we basically needed yesterday, so that there's factories that are productive and competitive, so that can stand on their own legs in international markets without support measures, that are environmentally sustainable, so that have environment, energy concerns in their DNA, and that also provide a fair return to all the stakeholders involved, to workers, the communities, and society at large. We can see that this can be then implemented at factory level. In this context, the UNIDO and UNEP, the United Nations Environment Programme, have worked together on this concept of resource efficient and cleaner production. So we are aiming there to a situation where we get a synergy between the productive use of materials, energy and water. Then if we do that, we have less waste and emissions, so there's waste minimization. And if we do that, people, workers, employees, communities are less exposed to waste and emissions and can be more productive. So we are talking here about a virtuous cycle of resource efficiency, waste minimization, and then productivity that comes out. As I mentioned, there's probably about 20 years of experience in this area of resource efficiency and cleaner production. Most recently, UNIDO, for example, is working on this concept in the leather sector, leather tanning sector, where we're looking at elimination of the risks associated with hydrogen sulfide, which is still causing death on a regular basis in occupational health situations, occupational accidents. We're looking at the salt issue in heights, so shake it out and have less TDS. Also looking at application of solar energy for the drying of the hides, for other applications there. So if we look at this concept of resource efficient and clean production, it's not a fixed set of solutions, but we rather work from different angles that the production process can be improved. So we then often start with the good housekeeping, so fixing leaks and spills, running processes efficiently. And the next point is to check whether the inputs are right. So do we have alternative inputs? Can we use renewable materials, or do we have the right input for the respective process? And the next set of opportunities relates to the better operating practices. So that often starts with just measuring what we're actually using in different parts, and then further optimizing with standard operating procedures and so on. The next component could be to look at the modification of the equipment. So we make sure that all the equipment is running all the time, most efficiently. So that could involve insulation, debottlenecking of production lines, and so on. A step further would then be to change the technology and look for alternative technologies, so changing from a chemical process to a mechanical process, or from a chemical process to an enzymatic process. So we don't have the chemicals and the energy requirement, energy needs for that. A further set of opportunities then relates to looking for alternative applications of the waste that comes out. So can we do on-site recycling and reuse, so recover the heat, the water for the industrial application? Or if it's not possible to recycle on-site, what useful byproduct can be made? So what is not useful for my company, what can somebody else do with this? This then also links to the concept of industrial symbiosis, waste from one factory becoming an input to another factory. Ultimately, we can then also look, of course, at changes of the product, so making products which are more energy efficient, more using less chemicals, and so on. So we see this as in our work with particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, that these are basically 8 lenses by which we can improve the manufacturing process. If we do this, there are quite some benefits for business as well, and I think that you could probably talk about those in terms of short-term productivity benefits and longer-term market access issues. So in the productivity side, we will use less energy, less materials, that's straight away less cost to the business and profit generated. We also see that there's often then an opportunity to increase production, so we have less thrown into waste, so that means that more is coming into product and at a higher quality, which can be converted in additional sales and economic benefit. We also see that there are benefits in terms of the organizational efficiency, as I would say it. So to get people focused on cleaner production, resource efficiency means teamwork on the shop floor. This means that also your organization becomes more agile to respond to other challenges, new product introductions, new technologies, and so on. I think I should also mention in this context then that resource efficient and cleaner production is of course a starting point for regulatory compliance, and we should see that also that compliance of course is non-negotiable. So if we can get use preventative measures and resource efficiency to get us to compliance, we have the benefit of compliance as well as economic benefit. I mentioned that we see quite some examples of this concept of resource efficiency and cleaner production in India and Indian businesses. It's been probably around for 20 or 25 years, but it is not picking up at a scale that this has become a national movement, or so that businesses are taking the lead on this resource efficiency. And this is probably the biggest challenge that we see moving forward, that businesses start to embrace the concept of using materials, energy, water efficiently. It is not a good sign of a business if there is some resources being wasted. So we think that more emphasis could be placed on looking for scalable models. So we're not assisting one enterprise at a time, but we are looking for assisting groups of enterprises, maybe through clusters or through value chains. We see looking at innovative methods. So, for example, the Green Business Rating that under Green Code that the CII is doing, or also at stronger incentives, stronger leadership from government. In that regard, I think in India there's a positive trend. You might have seen that Niti Aayog just late December 2017 released a resource efficiency strategy, which is highlighting the importance of resource efficiency for India, looking at water, land, and materials. There's also an increasing scientific basis for what is actually the material use in India under the Indian Resources Panel. So I see there are some trends that are certainly putting resources as a separate agenda towards, in addition to the energy component, which is already quite strong with the energy efficiency regulations. So in that regard, we are optimistic. We think that resource efficiency is basically about running your business efficiently, and that is having multiple business benefits. So in that sense, there is no reason to hold back from a business perspective to start to look for this resource efficiency. So not only the energy, but also the materials, the water. If we do so, we have less waste, and if we do so, we get more productive factories. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rene from UNIDO. We shall have a brief comment from Rene after the second presentation. Second speaker today. Our second speaker today is Mr. Anirban Ghosh. Anirban Ghosh leads sustainability at the Mahindra Group. Under his leadership, Mahindra has developed an award-winning sustainability framework, become a founding member of the Carbon Pricing Coalition, Leadership Coalition, and the first to commit to doubling energy productivity. He has, in partnership with the World Bank, facilitated the creation of the Sustainable Housing Leadership Consortium to accelerate the spread of green buildings in India. He has been an invited speaker at COP21, the Climate Week, the World Circular Economy Forum, GRI Global, EE Global, etc. Featured in the Climate Reality Project, and acknowledged as a distinguished sustainability officer. Along with Mr. Anirban Ghosh, three colleagues from the business side of Mahindra Group are joining us. Mr. P, the head of Mahindra Waste to Energy Limited, Mr. Nasir Deshmukh, Senior Manager, Igatpuri Plant, Mahindra & Mahindra, and Ms. Sonali Porwal, Business Development from Mahindra Axle. For enabling the connect with the business teams. Anirban Ghosh and the Mahindra team.
We heard that the need for circular economy is something that is growing. That as an economy moves from poverty towards development, the waste increases exponentially. Till the time that resources are plentiful, we really worry about this change. That resources are not plentiful, and to go using resources responsibly, to valuing convenience more than anything else, can lead to dystopian situations like having more plastic than fish in the oceans by 2050. Now, which is almost 30 years away, but right now we have lakes on fire, windfills collapsing, also catching fire from time to time. The reality that certain elements will not be available in their virgin form very soon. A situation like this cannot be the way by which one is efficient when using resources. And therefore, we have to figure out a way of preservation, reuse, and better ways of practicing resource efficiency and circular economy. Organizations like McKinsey and the World Economic Forum, they've showed huge opportunities that lie in the practice of circular economy, apart from all the reasons that Rene mentioned during his talk on video. Leads to a number of business opportunities, and three of my colleagues, as mentioned by Oru, share three business opportunities that the Mahindra Group has seen in the space of circular economy. The first being waste to energy, where you can convert various forms of waste, including crop residue, into energy. We'll call on Mr. P. Palaniappan, our Mahindra Waste to Energy Limited company, and works in the space of converting waste to energy, to share with you some of our work in this space. Palani, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Anirban. Good afternoon, everybody. In Mahindra, we strongly believe that what is waste for someone can be valuable for someone else, and the connection enables responsible growth on the Mother Earth. And we believe that this is in sync with Mahindra's philosophy of enabling stakeholders to rise. Mahindra Waste to Energy Solutions Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of M&M Limited, and we focus on converting the organic waste to biogas. And food waste is one of the single largest constituent of municipal solid waste stream in India. So we thought we should work on this organic waste, so help municipal organizations to convert this waste into clean energy and organic fertilizer. So doing this, we believe that we will be able to extend support to keep the cities clean by disposing their food and other organic waste. Then we will be giving a pollution-free environment to the society. We will also be supporting the sustainability by reducing carbon footprint, and we will be creating employment as we are going for many plants across the country. As Anirban said, not only organic waste of the municipal corporations, we are now embarking on converting the straw from the Punjab paddy fields to the first pilot plant we are going to put up near Derabasi, consuming about 10,000 tons of straw per year. Coming back to the organic waste, we have already 3 plants, one in our own Mahindra World City in Chennai, one at Bangalore on a completely commercial basis, and one at Indore for the Municipal Corporation of Indore. We are saying that the Indore plant has helped in some ways the Indore Municipal Corporation to continue to be #1 clean city in India, and the corporation is proud of our plant and they show it as their icon for the clean city of Indore. This technology has been developed indigenously, by us at Mahindra Research Valley in Chennai, and we collaborate with other institutions, but the technology has been developed by us, and we hope that by a year or so we should be operating at least about 10 plants fully operational, and we got plans to scale up to minimum 100 in the next 2 years' time across the country. We believe as a startup within Mahindra Group, we will be helping in the circular economy by using organic waste for production of energy and fertilizers. Thank you.
Work of Mahindra Waste to Energy is in the space outside the boundaries of our factories. Factories themselves, there is a lot of scope in using materials more responsibly and making sure that nothing goes to landfill. A way of thinking that is now a part of the Mahindra Group. We call on Deshmukh. It's the Igatpuri plant and was the first in the country and the second in the world to make his factory a certified zero waste to landfill factory. Nasir, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Nasir Deshmukh from M&M Igatpuri plant. So basically, we are an engine manufacturing plant, and we manufacture close to 1,100 engines per day. We generate to the tune of 2,000 tons of waste per annum. We had a focus basically in the 2 areas. One is to reduce the overall waste and to make our factory a zero waste to landfill factory. We did life cycle assessment for our product and process, and also taking inputs from the aspect impact, which is part of the ISO 14001. We did the complete waste mapping of our entire plant, every operation. We applied 5R principle, which we say, which is like reduce, reuse, recycle, refuse, and rotten. We applied this principle to every operation and implemented a lot of actions, initiatives to reduce, reuse, recycle the waste. So with all these efforts in last 3 years, we could reduce our waste by 25%. If you see the waste, we have like around 11 category of hazardous waste and close to around 32 non-hazardous waste in our plant we generate. To name few in hazardous waste, we have oils, oil-soaked hand gloves or gloves, cotton things, grinding muds, sealers, and effluent treatment plant sludges. Out of this, the grinding mud was one of the major contributor for the landfill. Our employees, our team, relentlessly on that came out with a lot of ideas on mixing with the asphalt, forming with the bricks. So finally, we got a breakthrough in form of a paver block. Also, we worked with one of the co-processor to disintegrate this grinding mud into oil, some iron particles, and silica. We got the success there, and we got a breakthrough for reducing or eliminating the landfill. One more example in this area was the sealer application. The waste was going to the incinerator. We implemented cobots, a lot of automatic sealant dispenser by which a precise sealant application was happening, and we were able to reduce the sealant waste. So with all these initiatives, we could achieve zero waste to landfill. In the non-hazardous area, major initiatives like making our factory a zero wood factory. So we are moving towards 100% recycling. We have achieved a 75% level. We are trying to make our factory a paperless factory by leveraging digital technology. Plastics, we have made our factory a plastic bottle-free plant last year. Food waste, as Mr. Palyanappan mentioned, we also have gone for the biogas and biofilter. So entire food waste we are now converting into wealth, making gas and using in our canteen. Our engine as a product, we don't have asbestos or lead or hexavalent. So entire engine components like cast iron, steel, and other parts, they are doing 100% recycling. So with all these efforts, we could achieve zero waste to landfill. We got certified by the Intertech certifying agency of US based, and we were first in India and second in the world to get it certified. Apart from this zero waste to landfill, for the water also, our plant is a zero discharge plant, and we have achieved the status of water positive. 75% of the water gets recycled, and initiative, we are one of the best in biodiversity also in the entire country, and been rated as the Sustainable Factory of the Year by Frost & Sullivan and TERI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nasir. Out from Nasir's story that factory tries to become a zero waste to landfill factory. Plenty of opportunities for innovation, opportunity to save money, and also the prospect of many new businesses developing as we handle our materials better and in a more innovative, responsible way. Where this perspective is very much required in the handling of old automobiles, which a country and which will increase in number. We will be wanting more fuel efficient vehicles, and the older ones will have to be scrapped or got rid of. We can't possibly let them be on the sides of the roads and rot, and therefore there is the need for a responsible business that will disassemble vehicles responsibly, use the materials that come out of the vehicle, and therefore practice resource economy. We bring on Sonali Porwal, who works at Mahindra Excello, which we have invested in, And we look forward through this business to make a contribution towards managing sources available in old cars better in future. Sonali.
Thank you so much, sir. With pollution levels and with newer and newer vehicles being pumped in the market, the situation has become quite unsustainable. Currently, the vehicles contributing to the rising levels of pollution are the older vehicles. A 10-year-old passenger car is responsible for polluting air 10 times more than a new one. A 10-year-old truck is responsible for polluting air 8 times more than a new one. So Mahindra XLO and MSTC, which is a Government of India enterprise, have set up Mahindra MSTC Recycling Private Limited to recycle such end-of-life vehicles in a clean and an environmental friendly way, and which means zero in Spanish. We have set up India's first organized vehicle recycling center at Greater Noida. With facilities at this center, all vehicles are collected, depolluted and recycled here in compliance with all the legal and the environmental norms. Major focus of the process is strictly zero pollution while recycling of the vehicles. Zero wishes to create a culture of zero tolerance to unscientific processes and pollution of recycling automobiles. The automated plant has the capacity to recycle old trucks, buses, cars, two and three-wheelers, as well as consumer durables. Circular economy is the need of the hour to decouple economic growth from resource constraints. And we, as Mahindra Group, have a special focus on sustainability. To close the loop, first being as manufacturer and now being as recycler. End-of-life vehicle recycling is one of the means to help achieve COP21 targets with focus on environmental improvement. This value in scrapping old vehicles as we focus on reduce, reuse, recycle principle of sustainability. In vehicle pollution levels, scrapping of old vehicles leads to recovery of many metals, and especially steel, which makes up 65 to 70% of the car's body. New steel made from scrap steel saves 1,115 kgs of iron ore, 625 kgs of coal, 53 kgs of limestone, 642 kilowatt hour of energy, 287 liters oil, and 2.3 meter cube of landfill. That's a huge amount. Emissions are reduced by 58% through the use of ferrous scrap. With this amount of steel recovery from natural resources as well as on energy which would otherwise be needed for steel manufacture.
There were three examples of businesses that the Mahindra Group has entered into. The sharing these businesses was more to show that circular economy lies the possibility of doing business, of manufacturing, of living in an entirely new way. Forward, a lot of things might happen to make us live differently. Kinetic energy getting converted to electrical energy. There is the possibility of flexible solar panels, lighter, denser modular batteries. Augmented reality may become a reality. Efficient homes might happen. We may live a plastic-free life. And biochar might finally become a way by which carbon is put back into the soil. There's conversations about vertical farming. All of which will give us opportunities for new businesses and for living in a way which is more resource efficient and practicing circular economy. Thank you very much for giving my colleagues and me the opportunity of sharing this with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anirban. May I now request Rene to come in with his brief comments before we move on to the question and answer. Also, before Rene comes in, a housekeeping announcement that if you have your questions and if you have still not posed your questions for the speakers, you can type your questions in the dialog box available on the right-hand side bottom corner of your screen. The speakers will take up your questions turn by turn after their comments. Over to you, Rene.
Thank you very much.
Arup, and first of all, let me say, Anirban and the team of Mahindra much appreciated to share 3 business cases, which I think exemplify the multitude of opportunities that exist at the interface of the circular economy. Just to reiterate from what was in part also in the video, that UNIDO sort of looks at this kind of concept of factories that are fit for the future but were needed yesterday, so that are productive and competitive, take care of people and are more inclusive, and then also have environment and energy in their DNA. And if I look at this last component of the environment in the DNA of corporations, then we see certainly convergence around the notion of circular economy as a sort of guiding principle there. I spoke in the video more on the resource efficient and cleaner production side, which is one of the elements of the circular economy in my view. Resource efficient and cleaner production that starts with using materials, energy and water efficiently. Then you have basically less material to throw away, which is the waste minimization component, and then you improve also the factory environment for workers as well as for the community, which helps in terms of productivity. But if we go then to the circular economy, I think that in my view, or in the view of UNIDO, what we observe, there seems to be a lot of traction about let's move to recycling economy. So let's recycle everything. And I'm not 100% convinced that this captures really the trust of the circular economy. So circular economy is around maintaining circular loops of the different materials. If it's technical materials, it means keeping them perpetually in economic systems. If it's natural materials, it means recycling them back into natural cycles without disturbing the natural cycles. So from our point of view, we then sometimes say, okay, let's look into the circular economy as, first of all, I would say maximizing the use of renewables as materials, but also energy as well. So you could say go natural or go renewable, because that is always going to be preferential. Then the second component is really the resource efficiency dimension. So if we think in circles, it makes a lot of sense to make the circles thinner, because that requires less energy and less risk associated. So that would be the second strategy, would be do more with less, the traditional eco-efficiency, cleaner production approach. And then thirdly would be this recycling and resource recovery component. So basically keeping materials, technical materials in particular, in continuous cycles. So that would be then the component of recycling perpetually. And I on purpose add this perpetually, because we should not just think about what is the next use of the material, but we should think of what is the next after that, because we are also in a bit at risk, and we see some examples of where we basically would have to say a waste is just being stored and is waiting for future generations to pose a problem once they rip off the road, which has some hazardous materials in there, or the walls which have unfortunate hazardous materials in there. So I think that a more precautious approach to resource recovery, and then in an environmentally sound way, including in the next generation products, is part of the circularity. So circular economy, in my view, go renewables, do more with less, and then recycle perpetually, and that gives, as Anirban was also saying, many opportunities for innovation. And I would also, from our clean tech programs, would then say that the sky is really the limit. So we don't really know where this is going to go, but it seems to be a very fruitful area for innovation in terms of technology, but also business models, products and services. So maybe over to you, Arup, to take on some of the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, René. May I thank Mr. Anirban Ghosh, René, Mr. Deshmukh, Ms. Porwal, and Mr. Paliyanappan for their insightful experiences and perspectives. I'm sure this has been insightful for all the participants. We clearly see from the video and the presentation that the realization of a vision of circular economy requires a development of business models that would involve appropriate technologies and financial innovations. We shall take up questions from the participants which Anirban, Rene, and colleagues from the Mahindra team would address. You have still not sent us your questions. Please type it in the chat box now. First question that has come, and it is directed to Anirban, you. It says it is interesting that you mentioned vertical farming as a future for circular economy in India. Of any successful examples where urban agriculture or closed environment agriculture or vertical farming accomplished at scale in India? It is that the Mahindra Group is part of.
Thank you for the question. It has been one of the innovation projects in Mahindra. I am not aware of a large-scale project in India, but we are a part of an urban program in Detroit where we are enabling vertical farming for the revival of the city of Detroit. We get most of our learnings from. Speak to agriculture experts and we discuss how will we make enough food available for everybody in the future, pressure on land. And we also discuss how do we make this, buildings greener. The ability of vertical farming becoming a modern practice seems to be possible.
One is coming which is targeted to Anirban and Rene. Rene to comment first and then followed by Anirban. If the logic of the circular economy is so compelling, why aren't more companies doing it in India? Rene, then Anirban.
And so why is it not happening at a big scale? And this is maybe perhaps also what we can say in other areas like energy efficiency, cleaner production, and so on. So I think that I would not have a specific answer for the circular economy, but I believe that that there are still in India with maybe a focus on the medium and smaller enterprises, too many companies who think that this will all still blow over, so to speak, this will disappear. It's not worth my effort, my time of effort. It's not pertinent, it's not important enough. And then I think a second component which we often see is that then companies are saying it's still too difficult, and so you might say in the economic terms the transaction costs are too high. I don't know where to find reliable information, who can be my partners, where do I get the finance, where can I share some of the risks and so on. So that in that regard are there. So in this regard, from UNIDO's perspective, we are sort of thinking that we should work on the issue of demand creation for the circular economy and resource efficiency by really pointing out the productivity benefits, the co-benefits more of resource efficiency and circular economy and the business opportunities which are there. And then the second component could be more around the how to say market development, and where we could say if we take now by sectors, we could have scalable solutions like the organic waste to energy facility, which is I think a perfect example of something which can be done and replicated in so many places. And then we can, as we have these replicable models, we take out some of the technology risk, and we can also do the demand aggregation, kind of buying multiple of the facilities and have the cost lower, and then we can also customize finance to that. But I think it's an element of that businesses are still of a mindset that it's not important enough, and then if they want, it is still quite difficult to get the right advice, the right support to help moving forward, because the solutions are not always that evident. Over to you.
Thank you, Rene. If the case for circular economy is compelling, it is also true that the solutions are not always readily available. that it takes people and colleagues of his who work in other factories within the Mahindra Group take the initiative and find out solutions for the byproducts that get produced in the course of doing the main business. There are many opportunities that are already available in India today. And as people who run factories and offices make an effort, it will be possible to get rid of the byproducts that get produced in the normal course of business. It's also been seen that such initiatives are actually successful when there is a sense of scarcity. Just as a random example, the adoption of micro irrigation in the country is much higher when there is either a shortage of water or of electricity or manpower or a combination of the three. The argument that micro irrigation can lead to higher productivity doesn't really help in adoption of micro irrigation. This was an analogy, and it applies as much to circular economy as it applies to energy efficiency as any other field of work. So as we experience scarcity and shortages, the likelihood of adoption of circular economy will be much higher. Over to you, Arup.
Thank you, Anirban. We have a set of questions targeted to Mr. Deshmukh and to Mr. Kalyanapura. If I may ask Deshmukh to go first, asks, where can I source ideas to implement pilot projects that are suited to my own site and which is aligned to circular strategies? Mr. Deshmukh.
So, as I mentioned in my talk, basically we have done the waste mapping for the entire operations of the plant. So, from there you will get a lot of ideas, and from there you can do a lot of piloting. So, the entire site what you are talking about, you can do first the waste mapping for all the operations. What type of waste gets generated operation by operation? Once you know that very clearly, then you can think of applying the 5R principles, and then you can involve team, and then team can come out with ideas, and then those ideas, which is a big ticket item, we can do piloting. The similar way we have gone for our factory also.
Yeah, coming to Mahindra waste to energy, I think the opportunities for us is plenty. I mean, whichever waste is there, we find solutions, we pilot it. As I said in my presentation, we keep trying new technologies so that we will be able to use all type of organic waste. So we, as I said, currently we are now planning to use the straw for energy. So for us, the opportunity is plenty. The one example of Indo which I gave is the plant we have located at the vegetable market itself. So where the waste is generated, it is converted then and there itself to avoiding transportation. So we avoid a lot of further energy loss. We convert there itself, the place where the waste is generated, and the opportunities are plenty. Only thing we have to scale up now.
Thank you. We have a question which is directed to Rene. The question mentions, you discussed industrial symbiosis as one of the ways in which the industry can accomplish circular economy and resource efficiency in India. Are there cases of industrial symbiosis and eco-industrial parks that have developed global benchmarks? Rene.
Say that this industrial symbiosis is certainly being practiced. So where waste from one company is being taken as an input in another company, and then waste could be materials, but also energy, waste heat or waste water, or also integration of compressed air. It's difficult to find that out. Some people have said that we need to uncover this. So sometimes it's just being done as good business practice. And I think there are some examples where we worked here in Gujarat with the Gujarat Industrial Development Corporation, maybe in Vapi and Dahej, on some exchanges which are happening, or collective treatment of waste, so that there is then a recovery of chemicals out of this. So I think that there are examples of industrial symbiosis being done in industrial parks also in India, but I do not yet see this as a systematic approach. So it might have arisen out of the good initiative of some of the people who are working in these enterprise or industrial parks, but it's not yet a strategic priority to optimize the symbiotic opportunities. I think this could be potentially an area to drive the circular economy in India by saying, let's pick up some of the industrial parks in India, and let's try to see how much of industrial symbiosis can be achieved, what is then good practices in terms of technology management and finance for this, and then scale this up to whole of India. Thank you.
A question that is directed to Mr. Deshmukh and Anirban, and this is an interesting one. It asks, how do we that decide to implement circular economy require new staff positions or different kinds of managers? If I can ask Mr. Deshmukh first to come in, followed by Anirban.
Yeah, very interesting question, but absolutely no. We don't require a new staff to have that type of thinking for going for a circular economy. Basically, yes, we'll have to adapt a new mindset. This is very important. Many things we are aware of, but we generally don't focus. So some sort of learning is required, some sort of benchmarking, awareness, and a change of mindset is required. We need to have a culture, as someone mentioned about a recycling economy. So we'll have to have a culture in our plants where people think continuously of making everything circular, because when you try to do things circular, it actually makes your processes very efficient. So it requires a mindset, but you don't require a new staff.
Nasir. After Nasir and his colleagues had worked in our company for more than 20 years, I suppose, took on the task of becoming a zero waste to landfill factory. It much to move from the older paradigm of take, make and dispose to a circular economy paradigm, especially in India, where we have in some ways practiced it when there was greater scarcity in the economy. So it's almost like reviving some of the old practices and practicing greater degrees of innovation, resource economy. So no, we don't need new people. Colleagues will be able to do it if we give them the right direction.
Colleagues, we are running out of time, and we shall take the last question for today's webinar. We'll figure out colleagues whose questions we are unable to take up. We'll figure out a way through LinkedIn or through our website if we can enable an exchange. The question that we are taking up in today's webinar is targeted to both Rene and Anirban. If I may ask Rene to come in first, followed by Anirban. Is where within the business processes can I take as a first step in implementing circularity in my company? Followed by Anirban.
Okay. Yes, I the best part is that because circular economy is ultimately about resource flows, so how materials, water, and energy flows through the business. I think that the best part to start with is really at the operational level to understand what is happening. So what we also hear for the zero waste to landfill project waste mapping, so that we see where are the opportunities. And this is a kind of also the change of the mindset, because we traditionally think in terms of where's the value added in terms of dollars or rupees per process. If we do the value mapping along the material flows and start with the production department, the operation department, then we can see some of the opportunities which arise, which could be new businesses, and then we engage to other areas of the business. So I would say operations would be a good starting point to infiltrate or start this concept of circularity of materials and energy flows. Thank you.
I think kind of start from anywhere. Must acknowledge that circular economy is like a giant relay race. To take any one material, let's say plastic, and map out what the journey that virgin plastic goes through till it becomes plastic again, it is extremely likely that multiple people will play different roles to complete the cycle. And any one organization will play a part of that role. Therefore, this is the reason why we chose to make zero waste to landfill as the focus. Because in the process, what we ended up doing was, as Nasir said, look at all the things that we are producing and classifying as waste and figure out ways by which they could be reused or repurposed so that they don't go to landfill. And they are reused and repurposed in a manner in which whoever is using that material again also has an opportunity to do something so that it doesn't go to landfill. It becomes some sort of a perpetual circle, and we are part of that giant relay race which prevents these materials from going to landfill at any point in time in its life on Earth. So if you really want to make a start with whatever's most convenient and whatever's near to you, because irrespective of where you start, you will end up figuring out ways to innovate and ways to do things better so that nothing goes to landfill. We're very much inspired by stories of fire in the Deonar landfill and fire in the Bilandur Lake of Karnataka. We asked ourselves the question that if this is how waste affects the earth, is there a way in which we can ensure that we are not contributing to it? And then looked at ways to deal with circular economy. I hope that answers your question. Over to you, Arup.
Thank you, Rene. On behalf of council members, I'd like to thank Rene, Mr. Anirban Ghosh, and the Mahindra team. A special thanks to Anirban to get the business colleagues into this sustainability discussions. Thank you all the participants for such engaging discussions today. We sincerely regret that we could not take any more questions from the participants that came to us at a later stage. The recording of this webinar and the earlier versions of the webinars are now available on our website. You can download the recordings and the presentations that speakers have used. The web link to look out for is on your screen. Okay. Before we finish, I'd like to request you to block your calendars for our upcoming council engagements. The meeting of the Chief Sustainability Officers is scheduled on the 28th of August. A block your date has already reached all of you who are participating in this webinar today and other colleagues. We will comprise two sets of sessions. A set of knowledge sessions that provide insights on emerging trends and global developments on sustainability, and action and a consultation session that provides access to various tools, methodologies, practices to equip the sustainability officers to better engage with internal and external stakeholders. Workshop and this meeting, we also would like all of you to take advantage of some of our partners whom we have been working with. We have a dedicated session to discuss sustainable development goals and Indian businesses. With our partners, we are pilot testing a methodology that assists businesses in translating sustainable development goals into local business relevance and prioritizing relevant sustainability issues. Unlike most methods, the SDG exchange allows the company to evaluate its readiness to innovate new products or services using region-specific SDGs as a lens. We also hope Dutch solutions with our partners as part of the Business Forum, which currently hosts around 31 sustainability challenges and 19 solutions from across 38 companies. A third aspect which becomes important and relevant for all of us also, as was getting discussed as part of the presentation today, collaborative approaches to waste proofing our future. With the Ministry of Environment and Forest and with support from UNEP, we have launched a platform on the waste proofing the future. We look forward to engaging discussions with the sustainability officers on the 28th of August at the TERI campus in Delhi. In blocker for our next thought leadership webinar that is scheduled on the 25th of September. I'll focus on the topic, how cool are green buildings? This webinar should help you identify emerging opportunities of using low GWP refrigerants and the alignment with India's action towards the Kigali Agreement. So to watch out for is the first knowledge report from our council in this financial year on the Sustainability Super Trends 2018. The report bears a message of Mr. R. Mukundan, Managing Director of Tata Chemicals and co-chair of our Council for Business Sustainability, and Mr. Ajay Shankar, the former Secretary, Department of Industrial Promotion and Policy, Government of India, and Distinguished Fellow of TERI. The report should be available for all of you to access from our website on the 17th of August. Soon reach out to all of you for requesting for nominations for our Directors Forum on Sustainability. Forum looking at the engagement with not just the CEO and the sustainability officer, but also board level representatives who are working on the sustainability agenda. With council members Gail, we are also undertaking a sustainability seminar specific to the requirements of public sector undertakings in the month of September. Reach out to us in case you are interested to join or contribute at this workshop. Newsletter for this financial year of a world abuzz with sustainability captures highlights of several of our highlights of the work of several of our members and companies in the network of our council. There also features a blog on the evolving role of the Chief Sustainability Officer in India. We look forward to your comments and reactions. Council for Business Sustainability serves as the interface for our research work to be connected to the corporate world and enables a two-way communication and engagement. Our council engages with the core issue of what businesses must do to shape and lead in sustainability. For regular updates, annual plan of engagements with our members, please visit our website screen or write to us on the email IDs on your screen. Today, we hope you enjoyed the session and we intend to bring similar engaging sessions to you. On behalf of the TERI team, and we look forward to your participation in our upcoming engagements. Thank you and bye-bye.